Good morning, my little pumpkins. How are you? Good. So today we're going to learn about writing narratives, and our topic is narrative context. So I want you to discuss at your table what you think narrative context means. Waterfall. Okay, Zach? Hey, what's that? What do you think it means?
So like in a movie, how the narrator speaks like once in a far land.
Okay, so say a little bit more that helps describe what you just said.
So it's like it narrates.
Okay, so it's the narration. What else? Who has a, let's see. Lincoln. What'd you guys say?
What Anna was talking about, he said the meat inside like a taco, so all everything that like fills up the story.
Okay, so the meat inside of a taco. I love that. So it fills up the story. Very good. All right, we're going to learn all about it. So on your heading for your notes, write narrative context. Hooking the reader. Sounds mean. I don't think it's that mean, but it does sound a little scary to be hooked. Right? This is the good kind of hooked. What do they mean by hooking the reader? Hooking the reader. Audrey, what do you think they mean when they say hooking the reader? So trying to get the reader to read the story. Excellent. Let's read this all together. All narratives have to start somewhere. Usually that somewhere is the story's context. That is the introduction of a problem, situation, or observation that engages readers and orients them to what is about to happen. Which opening is more effective? All right, so we're going to look at some effective openings. So now we know what context means, okay? So it's the introduction of a problem, situation, or observation that engages the reader. Okay, let's read this together. It's important to think about the type of narrative you are going to write, your purpose for writing it, and the readers you're writing it for. Writing an opening that will hook your readers and orient them to do what is about to happen is just as important. You can do this by establishing a context. Context is the introduction of a problem, situation, or observation. In some narratives, you'll also want to establish a setting. Setting is the time and place in which events occur. Okay, so what I want you to think about right now is your story that you're brainstorming, and I want you to maybe draw some bubbles, okay? Do you have context, all right? Do you have a problem, situation, or an observation, all right? Then do we have setting? So have we introduced what's happening? So if it's the setting is unclear, you need to introduce more background and more detail to the setting. Okay, that's how you get your readers interested. Okay. So now we're going to talk about hooking the reader. We're going to read a couple introductions. So I want you to read these to yourselves and then decide. We're going to take a vote and see which one you guys would put down, which one you guys would keep reading. Actually, let's read it together. Right here. The bus ride home that day started just like any other. Kids were yelling over the wind and the bus engine, except for the few who were trying to read. Warm bay air was flooding through the windows. Suddenly there was a screech of brakes, books, backpacks, and the few kids who had unbuckled their seatbelts flew out of their normal places. Okay, let's read the other one. I was riding home on the bus just like normal, thinking about stretching out on my bed and listening to music when I got home. There were the usual sounds and the same kids. Then the driver slammed on the brakes and everything got kind of crazy. All right, so first one, put it thumbs up if you'd put it, or thumbs up if you would keep reading, thumbs down if you'd put it down. All right, looks unanimous. I definitely agree. This one is way better, right? Okay. Talk at your table about why it's so much better. That's the important thing. Okay, waterfall. Aubrey, what did your table talk about? Why would you keep reading that one?
We would keep reading it because it gives a lot more detail.
Detail. What else? Anybody else have any other reasons why they keep reading it? Todd, what did your table discuss?
It says that the kids flew out of their seats, so obviously slammed the brakes super hard. I know they said it, so.
Okay, so the words are more exciting. They put more exciting words for sure. What else, Alex?
They added better words because the other one just has words you see a lot, and they changed the words and made them different. No, but we already did it.
Okay, we'll talk about it later. Okay, thank you, Alex. Oh, can you say that one more time? I wasn't really.
So the one that says put it down, it just uses words that you see a lot.
Right, basic.
It uses uncommon words.
Very good. All right. Let's go to the next one. All right, let's read this together. Establishing the significance of the context. By introducing a particular problem, situation, observation, and/or setting first, you are establishing that it is important to the narrative. What you choose to share and emphasize about it should suggest why it is important. The context, conflict, connection. This is important. Conflict is what makes it exciting, okay? So the conflict is the exciting part. So maybe take some notes about this. Here are a few examples of the connection between a narrative's context or setting, read with me, and an element that's going to contribute to the conflict. A character struggles to adjust to a new school. Early on, you'll probably want to describe the setting of the new school. A character learns a lesson after cheating on a test. Early on, you might want to establish the anxiety the character's feeling about getting a good grade on the upcoming test. So think about your conflict right now for a second, okay? And think about, do you have some context to set up the conflict? So I want you to look at your notes and write down your conflict and do you have context? So I'm going to pause the video for a second. So after you wrote down your, was anybody able to see anything differently? Raise your hand if that helps. Isaac, tell me what you learned.
I learned that the kid cheated on the test because
he wanted to get a good grade. Maybe he said if he got it, maybe because his mom wanted him to get a good grade, and that would be grounded.
Okay, thank you. I wanted you to look at your own stories that you're writing and see if you could figure out the conflict and the context. So, Fisher.
I completely threw out mine because I didn't start it well.
Okay, so do you have some ideas now how to start it? So looking at all these examples are really helpful. You can totally use some of these examples in your writing. That's what really good, if you want to get really good at something, you look at something that's already done well and you try to, do the same thing. Caden.
My guy, he is forced to serve in the military in a foreign country and is afraid of death.
Okay. For yours? That's awesome. Okay, let's move on. Oh, let's look at this pro tip. By introducing a particular problem, situation, observation, and or setting first, you are establishing that it is important to the narrative. What you choose to share and emphasize about it should then suggest why it's important. Okay. Got it. Let's read this together. Selecting details to establish the context. Your teacher asked you to write a short story. Look below for the things you have to incorporate into your story. Then, in the chart, type in details that will help you establish a context and a setting that will grab your reader's attention. Okay, so the details, right? We keep talking about that. So, I want you to talk at your table and use your whiteboard markers to put down some ideas. So 5 minutes to do this.